What if I told you that there was a movie about a super genius who has a really big head, a robot sidekick, and is always making these elaborate inventions, and one of his plans gives him exactly what he thinks he wants, but after a few days of living the dream, he realizes that he made a huge mistake and will now do everything he can to set things back to the way that they were. However, this only causes more issues, and his robot sidekick almost dies in the process while trying to save those around him. But in the end, all is well, and he saves the day by using his big brain to outthink his adversary, and learns that he doesn't have to feel like no one understands him, because he has people around him that like him for who he is, no matter how big his head is. That movie is Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. Oh, and I guess Megamind copied it like 9 years later. So, I remember when this movie came out, exactly 4 months after this train wreck, and it was a really big deal because, well, it was a fun movie that gave us a perspective on the villain while making fun of hero tropes at the same time, before that became a popular thing to do, you know, post-COVID 2020. And the last time I ever watched this movie was like 7 years ago, when I was still in high school. But after hearing there was a new one that came out, I decided to watch all the Megamind movies in order to get caught up with the Megamind lore. Are these movies even good? Or do they only hold up in my mind due to nostalgia? There's only one way to find out. So, join me on this journey as we go over every single Megamind movie in the very first episode of the Media Marathon. And there will be massive spoilers, by the way, if that wasn't obvious already. And before I get to the latest installment of the Megamind saga, first we need to start with... Just like Yu Yu Hakusho, the first Megamind movie starts off with the main character dying. But before we see him find out what happens when terminal velocity meets the pavement, we flash back to the beginning of his life, and we find out that he is an alien sent to Earth from his home planet in order to avoid the total extinction of his people. And it just so happens that the same thing occurred with his rival from a nearby planet, a baby who would later grow on to become Metro Man, Megamind's most consistent and also most iconic rival so far. But more on that later. For now, we'll just call him Mr. Goody Two-Shoes. Upon his crash landing on Earth, Mr. Goody Two-Shoes was given a life of wealthy parents, excellent hair, and people around him who encouraged his own excellence. Megamind, however, was raised in a prison, he had no friends, and no one who supported him, and most of all, no hair. He would always be picked last and put in trouble for everything that he did, despite trying his best to be liked by everyone. Eventually, he decided that if everyone saw him as the bad egg, then that's exactly what he would be. And since that moment forward, he aspired to become the baddest villain of them all, Megamind, the incredibly handsome criminal genius and master of all villainy. His words, not mine. Some time passes, and after a few decades of being at each other's throats in constant battles of good versus evil, Megamind is in prison when he learns the news that his rival, Metro Man, is going to be getting a museum in his honor. A local reporter named Roxanne Ritchie and her cameraman slash co-worker Hal Stewart are covering the opening of said museum before Hal tells Roxanne that he would never let her get captured if he was around, before she immediately gets captured while he is around and brought to Megamind's hideout. After Roxanne calls Megamind a cliché villain and a failure who never wins, Megamind decides to call her boyfriend in tights. His words, not mine. During this Skype call, Megamind gets his location leaked by Roxanne, and Metro Man heads to his location in order to stop him. But as soon as he gets there, it's revealed that Megamind duped Metro Man into getting trapped in an abandoned observatory.
You've fallen right into my trap.
That uses a copper dome, which is like his kryptonite or something.
Copper drains my powers.
And before Metro Man can escape this trap, he is shot by a solar-powered laser pointer, and dies.
Boom. Roasted.
Now that Metro Man is out of the way, nothing is stopping Megamind from taking over the city, which he does, but quickly realizes that he has no real motivation to do anything now that Metro Man is gone, that is. So, naturally, he makes his own new hero to fight him, and after pissing off an incel by kissing his crush, that hero turns into a villain, and that villain tries to kill Megamind before taking over the city. Megamind and the reporter lady named Roxanne go to find Metro Man, who only faked his death because he was tired of being a superhero.
There is no Easter Bunny, there is no Tooth Fairy, and there is no Queen of England.
A fake Megamind fights Titan and loses. before a fake Metro Man fights Titan and loses. Megamind turns himself into a Tesseract before he gives Titan a booster shot, and the day is saved. I oversimplified a lot, but honestly, this movie is such a classic. If you haven't seen it before, I would highly recommend go check it out right now. Well, finish watching this video and then go check it out. It has tons of rewatchable potential, and it's just one of those gems that almost never gets old. I always thought it was interesting how Megamind was so blinded by his own genius that he doesn't see the glaring flaws in his plans, even when they are being repeatedly pointed out by several other characters. Like how Minion is telling Megamind that his plan with Titan was gonna fail before it ever got off the ground, how Roxanne said that Megamind choosing Titan as the new hero of Metro City was a plan that was clearly doomed to fail, how Minion told him that dating Roxanne was gonna be a failure before they ever broke up. It reminds me a lot of that Pinky and the Brain thing, where Brain will have a super genius idea, but Pinky will point out a flaw, and Brain will ignore said flaw, thinking that his plan is perfect and flawless, before it ends up blowing up in his face. But eventually Megamind learns to trust those around him, and draw on the strength of his newfound friends to develop into a hero that the city he once swore to rule over could now look to for protection. Seeing this movie again made me remember why I enjoyed it so much all those years ago, and I'm excited to see what they have in store for Megamind's character and his own story going forward. Now that he's a hero, and not a villain, what is next for Megamind and the Big Brain Gang? Well... The Button of Doom is a short film that follows Megamind 2 days after he saves Metro City. Or Metrocity if you're fancy. He thinks that all of his gadgets and equipment look too scary to be a superhero, and not at all like the thing that Metro Man would use. So, he starts selling all of his gadgets for under $10 a pop, after accidentally pressing a button of doom. The button turns into a giant robot, the Megamind.
It's the Megamind!
Or the Gigamind if you prefer. Clearly in over their heads, Megamind and Minion run and hide before coming up with a plan to beat this giant robot with the sun laser from the first movie. And, unlike with Metro Man, the sun laser actually defeats and kills the thing it was meant to destroy.
Boom. Roasted.
Speaking of Metro Man, Megamind learns that even though he is the new hero of Metrocity, he doesn't need to do things exactly like the way that Metro Man did, nor does he need to conform to the style and methods of his predecessor, which is also one of the many reasons why Titan failed as a hero, because he was constantly compared to Metro Man, rather than allowed to save the day in his own way.
You should stop trying to be him and just be you.
You should be more like Metro Man.
Megamind and Minion crash a party some kids are having to celebrate their parents not being around.
With our parents dehydrated, we can rule Metro City.
And Megamind tells the kids that they're gonna get grounded before he and Minion ride off into the sunset on a mechanical spider in order to patrol the city. This little movie isn't perfect. They retread over some of the same points of the last one, like having the new hero be compared to Metro Man, feeling a sense of being stuck in a rut, and having it all while having nothing to do and having nothing at all at the same time. I do like the fact that it's about making Megamind realize that he himself doesn't need to save the day like Metro Man does, because he's his own hero, he's his own person, and he can save people in his own Megamind way, without just being another Metro Man clone. As of right now, the first Megamind movie is still, without a doubt, my favorite one of the two that I've seen, but maybe the next one after Button of Doom will build on the foundation that these two have laid out so far, and it might even soar to greater heights than the first movie. It may even be the best Megamind movie yet, and honestly, I can't wait to get to it. I like the Button of Doom though. It was a nice little way to show us how Megamind is going to start treating his role as the new defender of the city, and I'm curious to see where the most recent chapter of Megamind's cinematic story goes from here. Alright, so, this movie was not well received online at all when it came out. Not only did people hate the art style and animation changes, but the information that this movie wouldn't be reprising some of the same voice actors that made it in the first place caused it to be so ridiculed that it was, and still is, being mocked on the DreamWorks subreddit, which is just hilarious to me. Is it really that bad? Let's take a look and see what it's all about. Megamind stops some random fish people from stealing a fish from an aquarium, but the real crime at play here is that Minion canonically had his name in-universe changed from Minion to Old Chum.
A cease and desist order from popular fast food chain Mr. Minion's Meatsicles. I can no longer call myself Minion. So, Megamind gave me a new name. Old Chum.
Yeah, I'm not calling him that.
I recognize the council has made a decision, but given that it's a stupid-ass decision, I've elected to ignore it.
I have no idea who decided on that, but that was perhaps the worst idea that they had in DreamWorks so far. Like, if we had a tier list of bad ideas, I feel like calling Minion Old Chum is probably up there with the decision to greenlight Despicable Me 4. Minion, I refuse to call him Chum, and Megamind have a fight shortly after, and he tells Megamind that he doesn't want to be a henchman anymore. Megamind disagrees, and that causes Minion to quit and go get a job scrubbing toilets at a failing diner. Because that happens for some reason.
I'm looking for a toilet scrubber.
That's perfect!
The Doom Syndicate, which is a group of these 4 villains that I'm not gonna bother getting into because they don't matter at all. Anyway, they come over to Megamind one day and they tell him that they've been waiting for his signal and that now that they got the signal, they are ready to have him as their leader again, so that way they can take over the city. You see, it turns out that they still think that he is a villain pretending to be a hero. So instead of telling them the truth, he entertains this facade that he is a villain who saved the city to make people drop their guard, so that when he kicks up his even bigger scheme, they'll never see it coming. But what actually happened between Megamind and the Dumb Syndicate is that Megamind literally just ghosted them and told them to come find him after he gives them the signal. A signal that was never supposed to arrive. A signal that they misunderstood. And a signal to me that this was going to be the first of many frustrating moments in this movie. That's the best way I can describe this movie, honestly. It's the fusion of confusion with a few confounding things. It's all about Megamind learning that being a hero is not as easy as Metro Man made it look, and not to conform to the expectations of others while learning he has allies that he didn't realize before. And if at this point you realize that, wait a minute, this is exactly what happened in the first Megamind movie, and in Button of Doom, give yourself a pat on the back and leave a like on this video while you're at it, because that is absolutely correct. This is what happened in those 2 movies. Again, for some reason. To be honest, this movie really is just Button of Doom, but with extra steps. Hell, it's even called Megamind vs. the Doom Syndicate. Are they running out of ideas and adjectives over there at DreamWorks? Anyway, the illusion fades and Megamind eventually tells them the truth, that he is actually a hero, and was only buying time by playing along as a supervillain in order to stop them and bring them to justice. It doesn't happen.
Boom. Roasted.
Once the Doom Syndicate learns the truth about Megamind, they kick him out of his own lair and then attempt to send the entire city to the moon. So, Megamind needs to come up with a plan to stop them by joining forces with a few of his unlikely allies. And honestly, this part makes me feel like they took parts from the first movie that everyone liked and put them into this movie without understanding why those moments meant so much. But more on that later. After Minion, I refuse to call him Chum, quits his job at a donut shop, don't ask, Megamind needs materials to defeat the Dumb Syndicate, now that they've kicked him out of his lair and are getting ready to send the city into the moon. So, he goes to a literal plot convenience store that is not a joke, by the way, and I actually hate that they did that instead of coming up with, I don't know, anything more creative than that. I'm telling you, they're running out of ideas over there at DreamWorks. Someone please go help them. Once they arrive back at Megamind's lair, armed with nothing more than Serena Williams' training regime, Megamind shoots tennis balls at a literal rock wall and its shadow, while Minion is making his way through the ventilation system in order to stop the city from being launched into space. It doesn't happen. After dropping on the deck and flopping like a fish, Minion, I refuse to call him Chum, has to stop the city from rocketing into space, so he pushes the button of Doom, which stops the city from flying into space, and that would be great if it wasn't for the fact that now the city is falling back down to Earth. Very, very, very fast. Megamind and the Big Brain Gang pull a lever and it stops the city from crashing into Earth, and the day is saved. The only problem now is that the city was placed backwards. Somehow.
You kidding? You put the city backwards!
But there's no time to deal with that because Roxanne takes over as the new mayor for Metro City after the previous mayor does a literal rage quit in his job and just gives up. In the last 15 seconds of this movie, we meet a floating brain, and is revealed that this floating brain, named Machiavellian, is Megamind's former supervillain mentor wizard guy, and he is hell-bent about getting revenge on Megamind for what happened during the last time that they interacted. And that's it. That's how all the Megamind movies go. Not gonna lie, it kinda seems like these movies just got more and more repetitive as they went on. They recycle whatever seemed to work for the first movie, but watered it down just a little bit for Button of Doom. And then, in Megamind vs. the Doom Syndicate, they took what worked for the Button of Doom movie and watered it down. A lot. When I say that this ugly animation is not even the worst part of this movie, you know it's bad. In fact, I think people are attacking the animation of this movie because if they really saw this movie, they'd find more faults than just the animation with it, and that's because no one wants to watch this movie. Fun fact, by the way, after I watched Megamind vs. the Doom Syndicate, I had to sit and think for an hour and a half about what the fuck I just finished watching because I didn't retain a single thing after the first time I watched that movie. It was so forgettable that I went in with the intention of reviewing this movie and somehow forgot everything about a movie that I had just finished watching, not even 45 seconds after it ended. It's like I was hit with one of those neuralizers in Men in Black or something. You know, like the thing that pressed the button and then you forget everything. That was me. It's like I got my memory wiped of the last 83 minutes of my life right after the movie ended. That was the first time that ever happened to me. Still baffled by it to this day. I don't really have anything new to say that hasn't already been said already about the original Megamind movie. It was the peak of DreamWorks when it came out almost 15 years ago, and many would argue that it still is the best movie that DreamWorks came out with so far. Button of Doom was a fun little romp that helped us learn more about Megamind's struggles with his image as a new hero, and learning that things are not always going to go the way that he wants as a hero, and that there is no one right way to be a hero. He embraces the path of good in his own, somewhat edgy Megamind kind of way, and we love him for that. Aside from being a bit repetitive, I have no real complaints. It's not as spectacular as the first movie, but what are you gonna do? The third movie, however, is where they really lose me. It has too many villains I don't care about, too many subplots I don't care about, and if you've seen this movie already, you'll notice that I didn't mention a specific main character. This annoying little iPad girl named Keiko What's-Her-Face,
president of Megamind's #1 streaming online fan club, Megawatch.
who I wish didn't take up screen time with her need to make Megamind a superhero you can stream online. Wait a minute, ignoring the fact that this movie, despite being made by DreamWorks Studios by the way, was made with literal TV movie quality and none of the iconic voice actors that were originally in the first one, this movie was just not very good in comparison. But as much as I didn't like this movie, I will say that they did get me invested in one new character, and that is Machiavellian. In case you missed it, because again, he was on screen for all of 15 seconds in the last 2 minutes of the movie. Megamind's old supervillain mentor, Machiavellian, taught him everything that he knows about how to be a supervillain. For the last few films, Megamind has been fighting bumbling idiots that are nowhere near as smart as he is. So, he relies on his intellect to defeat them instead of on a contest of who can hit the hardest. A contest of which he would undoubtedly lose if he wasn't so good at using his giant blue head. And this film is no different. The Bubble Guppies, or whatever they call themselves in the first few minutes of the film, and the Doom Syndicate, they're all just a bunch of idiots that aren't really good at committing crimes, but it's just because Megamind is not a very strong and imposing threat outside of his intelligence is why they seem so threatening. But then once Megamind comes up with a plan to beat them, he packs them up relatively easily and without any difficulty. But now that the good guys and bad guys both have a super genius on their side, and that particular genius on the bad guy's side is the same super genius that taught Megamind everything that he knows, I'm curious to see if Megamind is even up for the challenge and can take on his old mentor once more like he did in the past. And if you are also interested to see how this plays out, subscribe to my channel for when I drop my Megamind TV series video that apparently takes place right after the events of this movie. This is a very strained timeline. All this stuff happens over the course of like 2 weeks. I'd hate to be Megamind or anyone living in this city for that matter. If I had to list these movies off in order of least favorite to favorite, it would, unsurprisingly, go Megamind vs. the Doom Syndicate, Megamind and the Button of Doom, and the one, the only, the original Megamind. although not a hard list to make. One of these is 12 minutes long. The other one is an 80-minute version of something that probably could have been 12 minutes long, and the last one is an actual very good movie. I put this video off for a while because I didn't feel like making it or making any videos after my last video. But for a month and a half, people at my job kept on asking me when my next video was coming out and where my next video was, and I really thought that those people were just mocking me about not being very good at this YouTube thing yet. But apparently they just want to push me to keep on going and keep on trying to make new projects and put out new stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do. I have a lot of new stuff coming up, and I've been sitting on this stuff for a while now, so the time has come to actually put some work behind them. And if you want to see my last video, click here. And if you want to listen to more of my voice for some reason, you can watch this playlist right here. However, that's where I'm going to leave off for now. Thanks for staying until the end of the video. A big thanks to all 1,248 people who bought tickets to the Inviso show. And a huge thank you to my character artists, LS number 040901, Bayo, Miss Gunsheaf, Mr. Cabo, and Miss Champagne. Oh, and that one Indian dude whose name I don't remember how to spell. But you know who you are, you watch my videos, and I appreciate the support whenever I see you at work, dude. Thank you. Now, I would not be making this video, or any of my other upcoming videos, if I hadn't gotten that constant push from you guys to keep me going whenever I feel like quitting at every turn. So, thank you. Tell me what you thought about this video, and what you want to see me talk about next time. But, until that next time arrives, I'm Inviso, and that's all for my spill. Like, comment, hit subscribe. You'll never know when, but I'll see you next time.